Hello and welcome everybody to the Birdhouse Dynasty show, and today we're going to be talking tight ends. That's right, the tight end position. Now, if we take a little step back, look at the landscape, this is a position that for years, at least a few years, you could look at the top tier, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, and say that either you want one of those guys or you're good enough settling for anybody else. But now, with this past season, in the emergence of the rookie tight ends as well as TJ Hockenson, you can say that there's sort of a crossroads here at tight end. And what I want to do today is take a look at those values and see where you could possibly benefit from the values those guys are at right now to improve your chances in 2024 and beyond. So, to start with, I once again used the Fantasy Pros rankings and cross-referenced them with the Keep Trade Cut values to try and see some possible sells or buys and what you could possibly do to maneuver with your roster and help you out going forward. So, when we start with the rankings here, we have Sam LaPorta, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, and Dalton Cade up at the top in the first tier. And so, from what I see, having Sam LaPorta way up at 7,300 in value on Keep Trade Cut, then it drops significantly down to Trey McBride at 5,900, Mark Andrews at 5,400, Dalton Cade at 5,500, and even TJ Hockenson's at 5,600. So, if you can take Sam LaPorta and grab any of those guys plus something, I could see that as a good idea and maybe something you want to check out. I do like the way Sam LaPorta played last year. I mean, he outperformed everybody's expectations, and it's not a matter of whether or not he can do it again. It's just a matter of the fact is there's a few other guys that can do pretty similar to what he produced last season. And if you can get your hands on one of those guys, plus a little something, then that would be to your advantage. So what I want to get into is a couple of trades involving tight ends in my leagues. And the first one I'm going to throw at you is involving the top dog, Sam LaPorta. That one was in a 12-team Superflex half-point tight end premium, start 10. That one had Boss getting Sam LaPorta, Jordan Addison in a 25-second, trading with Allen, where Allen got CeeDee Lamb, the 304, and a 26-second. So now if we're going to break this trade down, you could kind of eliminate the 25 and 26 seconds. They're pretty similar in value. And then you've got Sam LaPorta and Addison going for CeeDee Lamb and the 304. Now, I can tell you, and many of you who know me, that CeeDee Lamb is one of my favorite guys out there. And so if I can get CeeDee for Sam LaPorta and Jordan Addison, I'm probably going to do that, okay? As long as I've got some other tight end there on my roster, say maybe an Evan Engram or Jake Ferguson even, if I've got one of those guys, or hopefully somebody even higher in the tiers or rankings, then this is something I definitely would pull the trigger on. Now, if I'm leaving myself stuck with Tyler Conklin in the tight end room, and I don't have a pick where I'm going to be grabbing Brock Bowers, the hot new rookie this season, maybe that's something I would reconsider. But, like I said, I don't know that Sam LaPorta should be valued as high as Keep Trade Cut has him, way up at 7,300. I mean, Brock Bowers does have a higher rating as far as a prospect than what Sam LaPorta was last year. So I'm not saying that Brock Bowers is going to outproduce what Sam LaPorta did last season in his first season this year. There's a lot of factors that go into tight end production. First of all, situation. Do you have a quarterback that likes to throw to the tight end? Usually a veteran quarterback is more likely to give the tight end some dump offs. It used to be thought that a rookie quarterback would just dump off to the tight end more often because they couldn't get it down the field. But the reality is A rookie quarterback usually ends up scrambling more. Even quarterbacks that aren't known for their scrambling, they end up taking off and running for a couple of yards because they just can't do the projection, read the progressions as well as veteran quarterbacks can. So on most teams, the tight end isn't the number one target, all right? Even Travis Kelce, when he's getting a mass amount of targets, he's not always the first read for Mahomes. So that's where it comes into play. If you're grabbing a tight end, look for a veteran quarterback to be throwing them the ball. And with Sam LaPorta, he does have that in Jared Goff. And so I do like LaPorta going forward. I just don't like him at that high of a value, is what I'm getting at. So ultimately, I love the jump from Jordan Addison up to CeeDee Lamb. I don't see Jordan Addison's value being able to rise any from where it's at right now. Even with another good, solid, productive season, Jordan Addison probably would stay at the same level. And then even in a couple of years, if he's just staying at that same level, he's probably going to drop in value a little just because of the age adding on to him and the presence of newcomers every single season and new rookies. So I do kind of like the CeeDee Lamb side of this. I also don't mind the Fossboss end of this. If you needed a tight end, sure, Sam LaPorta is great, but I don't know if I would have gone the route of giving up CeeDee Lamb to obtain him. That's what I'm getting at ultimately. All right. If we move down that first tier of tight ends here, we've got Trey McBride second, Mark Andrews third, Dalton Kincaid fourth. Personally, I just don't see Trey McBride at number 2. It seems a little high for me, okay? I do know that he produced well in the second half of last season, and that's where his spike in value came from. I guess I'm just not buying into him being that high in value. Why is he valued more than Kincaid? Kincaid's tied to Josh Allen. Why is he valued more than TJ Hawkinson, other than the injury? All right. He's valued right at what Keep Trade Cut has Brock Bowers right now. And Bowers' value I can see increasing as we get closer to the draft. I don't hate Trey McBride again. It's just a matter of, I think that these tight end values are spiked a little. Part of it has to do with the youth involved with these guys and this crossroads that we're at with their value. But if I've got Trey McBride and somebody throws me Evan Engram and a first, I'm going to jump on that, all right? If you can get Evan Engram or David Njoku, 2 guys who have good experience now in the NFL, 5, 6, 7 years of experience. They were both high draft picks themselves. Only Engram produced in his rookie season, then struggled with the Giants. David Njoku finally stepped to the forefront last year in Cleveland. And so David Njoku and Evan Engram I do see as good buys. They're ranked 10th and 11th. They're down at 4,200 and 3,700 in value. They're both good, solid guys. I do see them producing again next season. And Njoku maybe a little bit of a question mark in that the fact was he saw a little bit of a spike in production with Joe Flacco at the helm rather than how well he did with the few games that Deshaun Watson was running the show there last season. Now Watson's coming back from his injuries. I do think that Njoku is good enough, though, that him and Amari Cooper can share production and still do well for each other. So if I want to show you another few trades involving some of these guys in this area, we'll start off with Kyle Pitts. He was involved in a few of these deals. Now, Pitts is valued higher than Njoku and Engram, but also lower than McBride, Andrews, and Kincaid. And so Kyle Pitts, obviously, he's at 5,300, so he's just a hair below those guys. But a couple of years ago when Pitts was entering the rookie draft, he blew away the combine records. And everybody was excited for him. He was going right at the same level, either 104 or 105 in most rookie drafts, right around Jamar Chase. Now, we all know that Chase is far surpass the production that Kyle Pitts has so far in his career. So the conundrum with Kyle Pitts is it the system or is it Kyle Pitts? Now, Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke are certainly not Joe Burrow, all right? So if Jamar Chase was stuck with those two quarterbacks, I could see him struggling as well. So that's where I'm at with that analogy there. And so I don't mind buying Kyle Pitts. The first deal I've got, and I mentioned it in my short to this show, and this one was in a 12-team Superflex tight end premium, start 9, and it had the 111 going straight up for Kyle Pitts. Now, Keep Trade Cut has Kyle Pitts valued around the 107, 108 range, so I guess he was buying a little low on it. I can also see the other side in this deal very much so. This guy, NLS2K, he had Kyle Pitts from the 21 draft until this point, and so I can understand being disappointed with his performance so far and wanting to get off of him. Netting the 111 isn't a bad deal. It's not like he just got a second back for him. And now he can inject some youth into his lineup this season. So I don't mind the trade from either side is what I'm getting at. Now, there was another deal involving Pitts, and this one was from a few weeks ago. I think I mentioned it on a previous show. This one had one side getting Kyle Pitts, Derek Carr, and the 311. The other side getting Tony Pollard, Schumacher, Kenny Pickett, and the 303. And again, in this one, I don't mind the side with Pollard, Schumacher, Pickett, and the 303, but I am definitely in favor of taking the chance on Kyle Pitts, getting Pitts, Derek Carr, and the 311 back. I really just see this deal coming down to Pitts versus Tony Pollard, and in that case, I am going to lean towards Pitts. All right, so moving along down the board, we do have the third tier then, which involves Dallas Goedert. This starts at number 12, Goedert, Jake Ferguson, Freiermuth, Kmet, Matt Meyer, Dalton Schultz, and Luke Musgrave. So this is the third tier of tight ends, and I've got a deal here in a 10-team Superflex tight end premium start 10 league where we had Jake Ferguson, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, the 203, and a 25 third, all going for Mark Andrews, the 104, and a 25 first. Now, you can match up Jake Ferguson and Mark Andrews, and you can say, yes, Mark Andrews is better. Ferguson is younger, however, and he's in a good offense. So I see Ferguson's production pretty much staying at the same level, at least, if not getting a little bit better. Kind of depends what Dallas decides to do at the wide receiver 2 and 3 position this offseason. So I do like Jake Ferguson, but I like Mark Andrews more. I'll say that. He still has that elite level possibility of production. As long as he stays more healthy this 24 season, I definitely see Andrews outproducing Ferguson here. Then he's also getting the 104. Now you can match up T. Higgins with the 104. I'd probably lean towards the 104 side in that. And then a 25 first. You could possibly say the 203 and 25 third equaled that. I definitely would lean the 25 first side. You've got Diggs in there as well. Maybe the 25 first is for Diggs. I do see the value of this deal being pretty equal. It's just a matter of the one side getting the 104 and Mark Andrews, probably the two best assets in this deal. So I definitely lean that side a little bit. Now, if it was a little deeper of a league, maybe start 11 or 12, then I'd probably lean the other side, actually. All right? So it just comes as a matter of one side, Kyle here, he was definitely consolidating pretty well in this one. And so I kind of lean that side a little bit. But I understand Foss is wanting to get, 3 starters here in Ferguson, Diggs, and Higgins, plus a little draft capital. So both sides got what they wanted here. All right. And so I move further down. At the bottom of that tier was Luke Musgrave, and I definitely see him as a sell. For one, I like the way that Tucker Kraft performed. When Musgrave went down with an injury, Kraft came in and stepped his game up. He had played a little bit while Musgrave was playing, but he definitely stepped his game up. And so to have Musgrave ranked 3 spots ahead of Tucker Kraft, I just don't see it. I see going forward Kraft taking over the tight end role, sort of the way that Mark Andrews took over for Hayden Hurst a few years back, 5-6 years ago, whatever it was in Baltimore. Hayden Hurst was the first-round pick. Mark Andrews was a third-round pick. Very similar in this situation in Green Bay, where you have Musgrave was taken in the second round. Kraft was taken, I believe, in the 4th or 5th round. And I just see Kraft as the better receiver in this offense. And receiving points, receptions and yards and touchdowns are what get us points in fantasy, not blocking. All right? So I lean Tucker Kraft. If you've got Luke Musgrave, I see him as a definite sell. If you can get max value for him, go ahead and do that. Right after Musgrave is the next tier. The rankings of tight ends 19 all the way through 33. And at the top of that tier, we've got another sell candidate I see, and that's Isaiah Likely. Likely being valued at 3,600 is a little bit high for a backup tight end. Now, he definitely gets production when Mark Andrews is out. However, having to count on somebody being out with injury for any of your production, not really a winning proposition. Okay, unless you do have Mark Andrews on your roster, and then you're sort of handcuffing him with Isaiah Likely. I just don't love having him on your roster with that value attached to it. I think you can use that value elsewhere. Maybe grab a veteran wide receiver like a Calvin Ridley or Amari Cooper, Likely plus something to get up to Cooper. I don't love Likely that much. He looks athletic. He looks good out there when he does get the opportunity. It's just that the snap share right now isn't there for him. Maybe when Andrews' contract is up or Likely's is and he goes on elsewhere, that's where you could see him benefit. But right now, I do see him as a sell candidate. I also see a few spots later, Chig Okankwo in Tennessee. I see him as a sell. Brock Bowers has already mentioned Tennessee as his favorite possible landing spot. I don't know that the Titans jump on him at pick 7, but excuse me. But Bowers could definitely be there for them, and it wouldn't be a terrible pick considering the options that the Titans have right now in an older Hopkins, underperforming Treylon Burks. Brock Bowers could definitely see a high target share in that offense if he does get drafted by them. Excuse me. If we go a little bit further down, right behind Okankwo is Cade Otton of my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Otton came on strong late in the season, produced well in the playoffs. I think that at his value right now, a 24 or 25 late second could get it done. And if you need help at the tight end position, it's not a bad buy. I see him pretty similar in value to Jatavian Sanders, who's going to be the second tight end off the board in rookie drafts coming up. And I think that Otton will definitely probably outproduce Sanders this coming season. Going forward after that, I don't want to project out too far because who knows how well Sanders will perform or where he ends up going in the draft. Another couple spots later at 26 is Noah Fant. Many other prognosticators out there have already mentioned him as a great buy this offseason. If he's available in your league, which he could be, some leagues, don't roster that many tight ends. Maybe somebody was just pissed off at Fant because he's underperforming so far in Seattle. I do see Fant as a decent buy right now, getting him thrown into a deal or just, like I said, scooping him off the waivers. There's also a couple of decent, really old tight ends, and that would be the QB/tight end Taysom Hill, as well as Logan Thomas. He's still hanging in there. He's really down the list on Keep Trade Cut. He's basically free. But then conversely, later on, there's a few sells, and these are guys that are pretty much just hanging on by their name. First, you've got Luke Schoonmaker at 34, Bellinger down at 40, Dwayne Washington from Pittsburgh, Noah Gray, and Brevin Jordan from the Texans. They're all hanging on from their name. They all have nothing but hope. They haven't produced anything, and I don't really see any big production from them coming in the future. I mean, if Travis Kelce were to retire in the next couple of seasons, I'm sure that the Chiefs would add another tight end. I don't know that they'd necessarily draft one in the first or second round, but I can't see just hanging on to Noah Gray for a whole nother season just to hope that Kelce retires going into the 25 season. All right, if you can package him up, help grease the wheels on a deal, maybe that'll be the route you'd want to take for Noah Gray. Once again, this class probably isn't going to be as productive as a whole as last year's tight end class, but you do have a couple of guys right at the top in Brock Bowers and Jatavian Sanders from Texas that will be good options for you. But again, the tight end rooms in the past few years were dominated by veterans. Now, this last season, we saw this huge spike from rookies as well as Trey McBride. So I think we're seeing that turnover happen now. So if you want to get in now on the younger prospects at tight end, this is your chance. I don't want you to overpay for Brock Bowers, though. That's the only thing I would say in the end. So before I close out here, I just want to mention that I'm out there on Twitter at clemke007_FF. Please smash the like and subscribe. It's free. Leave a comment. And as always, never stop working.